Hi, this is Afro Perspectives. Emmerson Mnangagwa has threatened greedy businesses. He accused big businesses of sabotage. It's not very difficult to understand who is being targeted. It's the big supermarkets. OK Zimbabwe, Spar and TM Supermarkets, the big three, have recently threatened to close their shops. And it's all about the ZiG and the exchange rate. Supermarkets are forced to accept the ZiG and to use the official exchange rate to set prices. The irony is that Emmerson Mnangagwa's regime does not accept its own currency for things like passports. I'll get into the passports issue later on. And then the ZiG cannot buy you fuel. You can't pay for things like customs duties. Or if you want to fly to Victoria Falls, you cannot pay for a plane ticket using the ZiG. For the big three supermarkets, however, the choices are not very appealing. They have threatened to close their shops. However, it might not be as dramatic as that. The point is that the supermarkets are losing big business to informal traders such as tuck shops. We might end up with a situation where the supermarkets simply withdraw their goods from the shelves. The official rate is $1 to 13.9 ZiGs, but on the streets the ZiG is going for $1 to as high as 30 ZiGs. So one might want to ask, why does Mnangagwa's government insist on the official exchange rate? The answer is simple. There is a killing to be made in trading the ZiG to the US dollar on the streets. The Reserve Bank itself is involved in this. Money changers with connections to politicians are making a killing trading the ZiG on the black market. Although the official rate is, like I've said before, is $1 to 13.9 ZiGs, those with political connections can buy the rate at a flat rate of $1 to 1 ZiG. They then sell it on the black market at a rate of their own choosing. We only came to know about this in May when Mnangagwa was arrested. He was advertising the ZiG at a rate of 18.75 to $1. That was way back in May. You can see for yourself what lies at stake and the enormous amounts of money to be made. Mnangagwa was arrested not because dealing in foreign currency itself is illegal, but he was just caught up in ZANU-PF factional fights. To secure his release, one of the judges involved in the case, Esther Muremba, was asked to explain herself to Emmerson Mnangagwa himself why it had taken so long to grant Mnangagwa bail. Although Neville was later granted bail, it was only after Esther Muremba had resigned from the case and handed over the case to another judge. Like I've said before, Zimbabwe's economy is mismanaged, and that there is no doubt about that. The politicians are making a killing out of the gaps resulting from the official exchange rate and the one prevailing on the black market. The biggest money changer is, of course, the RBZ itself. When it runs out of US dollars, it simply prints more ZiGs and then it buys US dollars on the local market. It's not a secret that people working in South Africa and the rest of the diaspora are keeping Zimbabwe afloat. Just in 2023 alone, they sent $3 billion in US dollars back home. This money comes into Zimbabwe through Western Union and Mukuru. Of course, the RBZ wants a piece of the pie when it comes to the US dollars available in Zimbabwe. So you have a crazy situation where John Mushayawanu tells you that it is illegal to deal in US dollars, yet the RBZ has a team dedicated to mopping up the US dollars coming in through Western Union and Mukuru. You cannot use or access the ZiG outside of Zimbabwe's own borders. So there you have it. The ZiG, just like the bond before it, is simply another version of a Mickey Mouse currency. Emmerson Mnangagwa's regime has to lead by example and start providing basic services to ordinary Zimbabweans in its own currency, the ZiG. Take, for instance, applying for a passport. In South Africa, applying for a passport costs $34 or its local equivalent, the 600 rands. while in Zimbabwe the government asks you to fork out a whopping $200. South Africans pay only an administrative fee, that is the cost of actually producing the passport itself. Although in Zimbabwe it's the Registrar General who is supposed to produce the passport, it's actually those with political connections who have now been given the contract to produce biometric passports. The government itself declines to identify the contractor assigned to produce passports. It would not be a surprise if Wicknell Chiwayo has been given the contract. In June, Emmerson Mnangagwa declined to disclose who was given the contract to produce biometric passports. It has to be a secret given the mouth-watering amounts to be made in profits. That is the reason why the economy is in shambles. Emmerson Mnangagwa's regime makes decisions with an eye on making profits out of basic services such as the issuing of passports. So you might think South Africa is an isolated case. Take Botswana for instance. A passport for an adult costs 260 pula. At the official exchange rate, that translates to only $20. So you get the idea. In Botswana and South Africa, a local only pays an administrative fee to get a passport, while in Zimbabwe, the regime of Emmerson Mnangagwa is out to make a killing out of providing a simple document like a passport. So taking South Africa and Botswana as examples, we can safely say the average cost of producing a passport is $25. If in Zimbabwe, like I've said before, a passport costs $200 and you want to know why the $175 in difference, that $175 is what the so-called contractors are making out of the contract. It's a cheap confidence trick. It's what they refer to in Shona as chimbazo. There is no reason why the government itself should simply print those passports and just charge a basic fee of $25. It's pure greed. And those extra charges go out to line the pockets of politicians and their accomplices in the racket. Like with everything else, the regime of Emmerson Mnangagwa is prepared to make life as difficult as possible for ordinary Zimbabweans. Emmerson Mnangagwa refers to the supermarkets and big businesses as sabotaging the economy, but that is far from it. The biggest threat to the ZiG and the economy of Zimbabwe is ZANU-PF itself. Wherever politicians have interest, they won't accept the ZiG. Fuel stations like Zuva are owned by politicians, so they won't accept ZiG. Then the issue is one of confidence in the government. The ZiG currency should be left to the markets to decide where its value lies. But that won't happen because the regime itself is complicit in parallel schemes to make money out of the worthless currency. Left to its own devices, the ZiG will collapse overnight. The price for ordinary Zimbabweans is not only hardship, but it might actually be another run of hyperinflation and an imploding economy. Judging from utterances from Emmerson Mnangagwa, the regime is now in a standoff with retailers. And since this is a government run by generals, they won't back down. It's one thing to rig the results of an election, but it's an entirely different proposition to run an economy. You need to have principles. You need to have the fundamentals in the right place. Thank you for tuning in. If you have not had time to subscribe, please smash that subscribe button and please share this clip with your friends. Tatenda, siyabonga. Thank you. Bye.